Your father was guessing. Every because I said so, every silence at the dinner table, every time you asked him something real and he went quiet, that wasn't wisdom. That was a man who didn't have an answer either, and he was just hoping that you wouldn't notice. So you spent your whole life measuring yourself against the man who was making it up as he went. Nobody told you that. So you decided the problem was you. I was like 14 or 15 the first time I stood up to my old man. And for some of you, stood up doesn't mean a raised voice across the kitchen. It means face to face, that flinch. A house you learn to read like a weather app, checking the forecast off the sound of the car door, the weight of his steps in the hall, whether the TV was on or off whenever you walked in. You got good at that. You had to. No kid should have to predict the weather in his own home. You did it anyways. Every single day. No one ever clocked how much work that was. I lived it. So hear me when I say, I'm not defending the man who put that fear in you and those scars on you. I'm telling you it was never yours to carry. The look on my dad's face that night wasn't anger. It was fear. A man with no script who couldn't hide it anymore. And here's the part that really pisses me off. The internet will sell you two cures for that. The one says forgive him, heal, and make your peace and feel lighter, while nothing actually changes. The other one goes full Hulk mode and says cut him off, go cold, and call that bitterness strength. You know, I opted for number two, but I kind of didn't have a choice on that one. Either way, both are content, both are someone else's revenue model built on your wounds and your suffering. Neither one is the colder, more useful thing. He didn't know. Because that's the whole thing. A dad provides, but a father produces. Most of us got the first one and called it the entire job, you know, roof over your head, food in your mouth. What more do you want? I don't know. How about some freaking direction and the life ahead of me, the one that I didn't ask for? You know, and every moment that that you actually needed a map, you know, the first heartbreak, the first time money scared you, the first time that it hit you that the world doesn't care whether you make it or not, where was he? Gone. Or right there in that stupid blue recliner and somehow still gone. Either way, the chair was empty when you reached for it. And here's the part that actually did the damage. It wasn't that you didn't know that the chair was empty. You assumed he had the map. You assumed every grown man had one, and you were the only one who got skipped, like somehow you were defective or stupid. So you spent years waiting to feel like them, certain, sure, you know, squared away. That feeling never showed up. And you took that to mean that something was broken in you, something was wrong with you. You were just, you know, you were just the shit one out of the family. Nothing in you is broken. You inherited a guess and were handed it as if it were truth. So track it back. Track it back to its source. Because he didn't invent this. His father handed him nothing. A whole generation of men who came before, they all handed their children nothing. You know, they get back from their job, they get back from whatever war we were fighting or whatever quietly broke them, and they decided that providing was the same thing as fathering. Show up. Don't talk about it. Don't show the crack. Die quietly. That was the curriculum passed down hand to hand, each man swearing it was wisdom, because admitting it was a guess would have meant admitting he was scared too or he didn't know. That's the relay race no one signed up for. Men handed an empty baton, told to run, and blamed whenever they drop it. Your father dropped it. His father dropped it before him. You know, now understanding why doesn't erase that it happened, but it does something more useful than forgiveness. It tells you the drop was never about you. You were just the next one in the lane, the next one set up for failure, disguised as wisdom. So now we burn it. What do you burn? Not him. You burn the expectation. The story that says someone was supposed to sit you down and hand you the map, a father, a mentor, a coach, a system, somebody who's perfected life. Nobody's coming. Nobody is coming. That's not a tragedy. It's the name of this channel. It's the only freedom offered to those of us who weren't born with a frickin' trust fund. Because the second you stop waiting for the map, you either draw your own or you just survive if you can make it that far. Every year you spent waiting for that man to finally explain it, that year was the cost. Time you don't get back, spent waiting on a delivery that was never scheduled. I lost like 16 years to that shit, wondering. It's just comfortable enough to keep guessing. Sure, the instructions are coming any day now. Waiting is quitting with a good excuse as the skin. Burn the wait, take it back to the bare metal. Before you build the replacement, the full version of what I'm talking about, it's something that I want to give to you, and it's sitting in the description. It's one page. I called it the Father Map. It's the exact exercise that I use to turn my specific anger into something with my name on it instead of his. It covers 2 of the pillars out of the 4. The mind that was handed a guess and the relationship that was built on that guess. Now, I don't have any kids, so I have no one that I can hand this down to. So I at least want to try and give it to someone who maybe it can help as much as me. It's not homework. It's not a favor to me. And, honestly, it may be just absolutely useless to some of you or most of you. But for those who are watching that have the deepest wounds, it's your first bandage. The first piece of work your father never assigned you and no one can take credit for. So go get it. Talkers scroll. Doers click. Now, the rise. What replaces that weight? You do. You become the first man in your line to stop guessing on purpose and write it down so the next one doesn't have to. And put some goddamn thought into it. Not because you've got it figured out. You don't. Do I have it figured out? Hell no, I don't have it figured out. I'm not a millionaire. Given I live pretty comfortably. But I'm not one of those freaking internet gurus either. I'm just a few steps up the same freaking trail yelling back which rocks are loose. I'm trying to tell you how I screwed up and the shit that I had to go through, and hopefully it helps you not have to do the same thing. But today you stop pretending that some freaking map falls out of the sky and you start drawing the one you wish he had put in your hand. So here's the rep. Today, not someday. Write down the one sentence that your father never said to you. The exact words that you needed and never got. Maybe it's, I'm proud of you. Maybe it's, I don't know either, but we'll figure this out together. Maybe it wasn't your fault. Whatever your missing line was, write it out in your own handwriting and read it back once out loud to yourself. That sentence is the first stone. You just became the man who can say it. And please write this shit. Don't type it. There's something much more intimate about writing. It commits into your brain, using your hand to produce a thought. After you've written it, then, and this is the part that actually ends the pattern, find one person who needs to hear that exact line from you. Like a younger brother, a friend who's going under, or your own kids if you have any. And say it to them this week, out loud, not in a text, to their face if you can. If you have to text, go ahead and text. But that's how the relay stops, not by forgiving the man who dropped the baton, but by taking responsibility and picking it up yourself and refusing to drop it for the next guy. You don't fake it till you make it. You do it until you become it. You become the father or the mentor you needed by doing the one thing he never could, saying the words out loud. And here's the reality. Many of you may never be a father, but the generation beneath you, is going to need more mentors than your generation does. So let's start playing some 3D chess and be prepared for that day. Shit, that's Gen Phoenix. You're not the generation that got handed an empire. You're the one that rose from the ashes of everything that men before you couldn't finish. He didn't know either. Sit with that until the anger cools into something that you can use. Until it turns into direction instead of a wound that you keep opening and opening and opening until it just festers. You know, I always talk about the 4 pillars on here. This sits at the intersection of 2 of those pillars. Mindset, the operating system, and relationships, the anchors that shape it. You can't fix your circle until you fix the voice in your head that says it's someone else's job to finish building you. And you can't build a future until you stop waiting for permission from the past. That foundation, the level you pour, everything else is built on top of that. So your father was guessing. Fine. You're going to be the one who stops and who writes it down, says it out loud, and hands the next map to the next man in line instead of handing him a maybe. The chair he left empty all those years, stop staring at it and start sitting in it. And the next question, the one that actually rebuilds a life, has nothing to do with him. It's what you build first. And that's where we go next. So pick up the pen. Now move.